What's up, fam? This is Strong Black Women in Wellness. We are doing spiritual applications, which occurs every Sunday at 12:12. And Strong Black Women in Wellness is a space that helps strong Black women to embrace vulnerability, cultivate balance, and establish and to prioritize selfhood. And today, our topic is one tip to embrace the power and practice of vulnerability. And that tip is to let pleasure be. So let me explain. As strong Black women, it's safe to say that our focus isn't giving ourselves pleasure, but ensuring that we make things pleasurable for others. I don't want you to limit pleasure to sex. Pleasure is whatever brings you joy, whatever welcomes rest, whatever helps you operate in your authenticity, whatever makes you feel good mentally, physically, sexually, emotionally, whatever makes you happy, whatever serves you can be defined as pleasurable, okay? In the biblical text exists an act of pleasure, right? And that example is in Genesis 1, when Spirit created the heavens and the earth, Spirit said, "Let there be light," and there was light. What Spirit created was an act of pleasure. Creating the heavens and earth was pleasurable to Spirit. This pleasure was not only for the benefit of Spirit, but for our benefit as well, meaning that what Spirit did was established to serve us and to bring us pleasure as well. Creation is a form of pleasure. It's a pleasurable thing, right? If we look at creation in the proper lens, but that's something else. We could talk about that later. So what does pleasure have to do with vulnerability? As strong Black women, we fear being exposed, so we hold shit in. We emotionally suppress, or we declare we are being strong, right? And we wear a mask as a form of protection and defense. We also wear masks because several of us don't know our authentic self. We don't know the woman that lives behind the mask, right? The persona of the strong Black woman is the mask, okay? So vulnerability isn't available when operating in the strong Black woman. Why? Because the persona of the strong Black woman asks us to manage and control our emotions, i.e. wear a mask. However, in our authenticity, in the life of the woman behind the mask, vulnerability is available, which I believe needs to begin with self. So let me stop right here. When I say that vulnerability needs to begin with self, meaning that we need to learn how to be vulnerable with ourselves first before we go in other spaces and attempt to practice vulnerability. We need to be vulnerable with ourselves, and being vulnerable with yourself can help you learn and lean more into who you are behind the mask, right? That is where the healing and the recovery occurs. One way to operate in self-vulnerability is to learn what gives you pleasure. The practice of pleasure is linked to learning or rediscovering your authentic self. Therefore, as a divine being, as someone that was and is designed to live well, right? As a strong Black woman, as a Black woman, you were not designed to operate in excessive self-denial. You were not created to operate in excessive servitude. You was not created to operate in immense sacrifice every day of your life. As a Black woman, you are not designed to endure hardship. God doesn't need you to endure hardship for you to be blessed and for you to be well. That's bullshit. I know that you probably received that one way or another across the pulpit, but that is not true. Hear me well. You were designed to live well. And when you set intentions to live well, mentally, emotionally, physically, sexually, spiritually, you are worshiping the divine. We could talk about that later too. But making sure that you're well across the border is an act of worship to Spirit, right? So therefore, as a divine being, as someone that was designed to live well, you can declare, just as Spirit did, let there be pleasure. In what way do you want pleasure in your life? In what ways can you declare, let there be pleasure for such and such in my life? When I say such and such, I'm talking about you. I'm talking about a particular thing that you have in your life, right? In what ways can you declare, let there be pleasure in your life? Prior to doing this, I suggest that you use this journaling prompt, which is, quote, "What brings me pleasure is," end quote. Trust that your body and spirit will provide the answers. When you engage the practice of pleasure, it manifests the energy of worthiness, which will help you confess. It will help you confess when you cannot breathe, because sometimes when we feel suffocated, we don't say anything. But when you have this energy of worthiness operating in you, you gather the boldness to say, this is smothering me, right? So when you engage the practice of pleasure, it manifests the energy of worthiness, which will help you confess when you cannot breathe. It will help you confess when something is too much, and when something, someone, or some institution doesn't bring you pleasure but offers you immense stress, right? Sometimes the sicknesses that manifest in the physical are due to the cultures of the institutions that we work in or the cultures that we live in at home, right? If where you are is producing sickness in your life, it is not bringing you pleasure. When you're able to confess these things, does it mean that everything will run smoothly 100% all the time? No, that's not what I'm implying. But what it does mean is that you are prioritizing your emotional, mental, and spiritual wellness. How are you doing that? By examining if the people you hang with or the institutions you exist in allow you to breathe. Do the people I hang with, the institutions I live in, do they allow me to breathe? Do they understand when I say no, this is too much? Do they make sure that my experience here is as pleasurable as possible? When you ask yourself those questions, you are prioritizing your mental, emotional, spiritual well-being, because as Black women, we have to make sure that we are well, because again, institutions that soaked in white supremacy, our homes that are soaked in Black male patriarchy, our churches that are soaked in sexism and Black male patriarchy don't necessarily prioritize our experience. So we are responsible for prioritizing our experience, right? We are responsible for maintaining our emotional, mental, spiritual, physical, sexual well-being, right? And when you're able to say, this isn't allowing me to breathe, this is too much, and this is not offering any pleasure, you are prioritizing your well-being. Lastly, when we explore the practice of pleasure, we are decolonizing, meaning we are breaking away from the socialization, meaning the grooming of the strong Black woman, which also implies we are establishing balance in our lives. The more we practice pleasure, the more we can understand the difference between our authentic self and the strong Black woman we were groomed to be. When we're able to identify the difference between the two personalities that we hold, we are then able to remove the mask. We are then we learn how to remove the mask, right? We can discern when we need the mask, because this is America, so I'm not going to tell Black women to throw away their persona of the strong Black woman. I'm just not going to do that, boo-boo. No, that's not safe. That's not safe. But what is safe is to embrace vulnerability by practicing pleasure, right? Because when you understand what brings your authentic self pleasure, you're being vulnerable with yourself. You're saying, oh, okay, I like this. I really don't like that. And then when you're able to identify what serves you and what doesn't serve you, truth comes up. And when truth comes up, sometimes your wounds come up, right? And don't run from it. It's okay. We got to heal. You know what I'm saying? You got to heal. It's okay. This is why I'm doing this work, so it can help you heal, because I had to go through it myself. Don't run from the wounds, right? If you are practicing pleasure and something comes up for you, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what to do with this, DM me, right? I can give you spiritual perspectives as a spiritual health intuitive, right? Whatever comes up to me, because I'm more concerned about the energy body, which is your first body, and what's stored in our energy body manifests sicknesses and disease in our physical body, right? So I can give you what I can from there. But if you need a therapist, I'm like, here you go, boo. Here's a list of therapists. Like, go work that out. And a lot of therapists I know are offering people very, very discounted sessions during these times. So don't run from it, right? Write it down, journal about it. Writing it down and journaling about it is dealing with it. It is not running from it. But as we practice pleasure, we're able to embrace vulnerability, and then we can cultivate balance, because we are learning what serves us and what doesn't serve us, what benefits us and what doesn't benefit us. And when we do that, we are prioritizing our emotional, mental, spiritual well-being. Therefore, we are prioritizing selfhood. DM me if y'all have any questions or concerns. I'm here for you. Let me know. Peace. Have a good day.